Today is the start of a series of debates. There will be 142 of them in total. And today's topic is anarchism. Now, I've actually talked about anarchism on this already, but why not do it again? All of these debates will be based on the pros and cons, the debater's handbook, that book. And let's get to start with. Let's start off with actually defining anarchism. Now, like many views, anarchism actually does not represent one single thing, as most people actually believe. In fact, there's actually a lot of them in different places as well, too. Anarchism, sure, the main symbol is the big A with a bunch of circles drawn on it, like one big circle drawn around it. But then again, lots and lots of people actually change their views on anarchism as well, too. There's a family of competing ones as well, too. Some of them actually being way more better than others. There's socialism and capitalism. Socialism and capitalism is actually another topic that we'll be talking about on this series. But basically, all you have to know is that these two are also different parts of anarchism. Well, there are these two versions of anarchism, and they're competing with each other as well, too. And since that's happening, there's lots more things that we can actually talk about as well, too. Lots of people find anarchism as a bunch of disorder, like everything's chaos, a bunch of these lines, where the only way to actually make humans actually be able to live is by making a set of rules, some sort of foundation to be able to put them on, as well as other places to go ahead and jail people if they don't follow them. And possibly also containment places for all that anarchism happening over there as well, too. But here are some of the pros and cons about anarchism, and then at the end I'll tell you a little bit of the results that could happen. And this apparently is supposed to be chaos, but for some reason we see some patterns in there. Now, firstly, I'm going to go for the pros. Now, the pros is that, well, we go ahead, and humans are very self-interested people. In fact, in the earliest days, when we all had to have, like, little clubs and possibly wear leopard skins all the time, we had to go ahead, and we always worked at our best interests. Nowadays, that's what anarchism does for us, too. Now that that's working, I think we can have a very good idea on why anarchism is going to be a great, useful tool towards this as well, too. Anarchism lets us own people not be oppressed by people who say, I'm your boss, even though we have no say in that. In fact, the people who have a say in selecting this guy as the boss, well, they were selected to be our bosses for, like, way before we were born, or just before we understood what was happening in the world. So basically, if anarchism is A-okay, then that means that we can go ahead and do something great for ourselves, and possibly for the best interest of our world as well, too. And now for our first con. Here we go. Well, here's the thing. Anarchism will always lead to the rich winning. If anarchism exists as was suggested in the pros, this is basically what would happen. The people who have the most money will be at the top of the ladder. And people who have the lowest money in the poorest ladder will be down there, having no authority to be able to do anything, really, because they have literally no power. So that basically means a bunch of entrepreneurs and business moguls will go ahead and be able to go rise up all the way to the top. And those people will be the ones calling out the shots and x-raying anyone who goes ahead and, well, doesn't listen to them. This is anarchism. They'll probably also buy their own army. And that's when things start getting dangerous, such as the self-indulgence, like self-interest. They will go ahead and work for their self-interest, as long as those self-interests are self-sufficient. Also, they will also probably be blind to the things that they're doing that's harming them as well, too. That's technically why governments are here for, to make sure that this doesn't happen. Alright, some pros about anarchism is that we go ahead, and if there's anarchism, there is no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy, there's no ranking that we have to go ahead and climb over to go ahead and get to the top. We don't need hard work. We can go ahead and realize that everyone is an equal, if not by intelligence, at least by what they can do. But then again, that's also kind of a ranking, if you ask me personally. So that's a pretty weak pro. But then again, anarchists just go ahead and try to live in a society that's non-hierarchical. They try to go ahead and not live like this. They go ahead and disrupt society because, well, society is hierarchical and they aren't any part of any of the hierarchy. And now a con for that is that, alright, so I see that you think the government sucks, that democracy is just something that goes ahead and clamps down on us. And personally, we see that as well too. But we don't see anarchy. We don't see chaos as the way to fixing the government. We don't see chaos as fixing the government of the United States of America or any government. We think the best approach is reform, because when we're reforming something, we're changing it. But destroying something completely and starting anew, if the government is that corrupt, maybe, like, that's literally what happened in China. But I personally think anarchism or coups aren't the way to go. We personally think reforms are the way to go. Just change the current government, some parts that we don't like. Alright, our third pro is this. Anarchism creates stability. And since anarchism creates stability, we can go ahead and live like these two rocks over here as well too. We go ahead and do things a lot, and they're so stable that anarchism goes ahead and eventually influences everyone else to go ahead and stay in their positions as well too. And everyone's working in their self-interest. Sometimes they'll have to cooperate to get, well, the most that they can get. And that's when stability comes in as well too. Anarchism gives us a stability to live on. Instead of the hierarchy and the government, we get a bunch of people living together, working together in ways that they can do, and they can quit anytime they want. And now for one con. Now, the cons of this is that it's actually not that stable. We think that it's very unstable. We think that anarchism will go ahead and lead to the toppling of people, mainly because everyone's working in their self-interest, and some people's self-interest will definitely harm others who have different self-interests. And that will lead to an unstable society, which will eventually lead to its toppling down. Our final pro on anarchism is that anarchism may not be useful as a government way, but it is a very useful tool, mainly because it has opened people's eyes to the injustices of the world. Because of anarchism, they can see that, well, this government is corrupt. Oh no, there's a flood here. Oh no, women don't have the same rights as men. Those kinds of things. Anarchism is actually helpful all that. And if it wasn't for anarchism, most of this debate thing would probably not even exist, because anarchism actually went ahead and opened our eyes to different societies and ideas. Mahatma Gandhi may not have used anarchism, but then again, his actions have attracted the attention of anarchism. And our final con is this. You guys are all talking hypothetical. We all can't go ahead and do something. Eventually, even anarchism is going to need laws. You say that you're going for the moral rights. And if you have moral rights, then you need someone to decide that those rights are like moral. And if it's anarchism and there's no judges, no policemen, anyone can decide if this applies to them or not, if this is moral or not. You still need a code of laws and judicial system and an enforcing system. And with all that, of course, there's so much more that we can go ahead and think about anarchism as well too. Anarchism is too hypothetical. It just cannot work. It's going to eventually get some parts of democracy and communism and socialism eventually. And that's practically the end of our debate. So basically what I said was, anarchism can help people be aware of a situation that they've never known before. It's an alternative way to make a stable life. There's no hierarchy in anarchy. And of course, you can go ahead and act in your self-interest, what will benefit you and make you live the best life possible. And the cons are that the rich will always win. They will always go ahead and get the most power and force other people to do whatever they want. They could probably buy a private army if they want to do, but then the army is also anarchic. And we think non-anarchists believe that reform is the way to go to change the government, not scrapping the government and making an entirely new one, because why don't we just use the current government as foundations? And no, anarchy isn't stable. It's actually very unstable. And of course, there's so many things that are just so hypothetical that it cannot exist. A society cannot live without laws and say that they try to live morally correct. You have to have laws to decide what is morally correct. And so what can the judge call you? Well, they can say that anarchism is actually something good and it has some possible benefits towards the world, or they can basically say that they regret that anarchism has went ahead and became a derogatory term to people who are very extreme in doing things and getting attention for things as well too. But personally, I think the best way to end this debate is by going ahead and not deciding at all too. Let you decide and think about the pros and cons I've just told you about and make up your mind for yourself. So this is debater Sean Han, finishing off the topic of anarchism debate, and until next time, Shna Peace. Bye bye.